Okay, this is spring test number 13 through section 12.2. This is part 3. It'll probably be of 3 parts, beginning at picking up at number 31. This one says use the vertical method. What that means is you need to multiply 3k times everything that's inside the parentheses. Vertical just means it wants you to stack them on top of each other. So you have something that looks like this: 3k plus 5 over 2k squared minus 5k minus 5. And you just multiply. That's what it means by doing it vertically. So we're going to take this first term, negative 5, and we're going to multiply it by everything at the top. So negative 5 times 5 is negative 25, and negative 5 times 3k is negative 15k. The next one we'll take is negative 5k. When you multiply it times 5, you get negative 25k. And when you multiply it by 3k, you get negative 15k squared, because you have to add k to the first plus 1. And then the last one you got to do is 2k squared times both terms. 2k squared times 5 is plus 10k squared. And 2k squared times 3k is a positive 6k to the third. And then what you need to do, again, just since we're using this vertical method, it looks real goofy. You just put everything together that's like terms. There's nothing that goes with this constant negative 25, so it'll be by itself. Negative 15k and negative 25k, when you put those two together, there's nothing here. You get negative 40k. Negative 15k squared and positive 10k squared will give you negative 5k squared. And then bring the last one down, 6k to the third. So that's the vertical method. Some people actually prefer to use that method. To me, it was always a little bit tougher because it took up so much space and everything. But the good part about it is once everything's combined, you don't have to do any putting together like terms or anything like that. And it is just like the problems before this on the last video, it is in standard form. Standard form meaning all the exponents are counting down. They're descending. The third power, the second power, and then the first power, the one that's not shown. Okay, number 32, all you're doing is foiling this one. Remember, FOIL just means your first two terms, j times j is j squared. Your outer terms are next. FOIL, F-O-I-L, your outer terms are next. J times negative 7 is negative 7j. Your inner terms are next. 7 times j is positive 7j. And then your last terms are at the end. 7 times negative 7 is negative 49. Notice with this, though, you multiplied conjugates by each other. One was plus and one was minus. Otherwise, everything else was the same. When, anytime you do conjugates by each other, notice negative 7j and positive 7j, they cancel each other out. So instead of doing FOIL, you actually can just do, you can eliminate the O and the I, and but that's only when you're doing conjugates, and multiply the first terms and the last terms. But you're left with j squared minus 49. Number 33, again, just conjugates here. Notice 2n and 2 is the same in both of them. One's plus, one's minus. So instead of doing FOIL, we'll just do F and we'll do L, and we'll get to the correct answer. 2n times 2n is 4n and squared, because you do n to the 1 plus 1. And the last terms, 2 times negative 2 is minus 4. If you need to FOIL out the whole thing, by all means do the O and do the I, but you'll notice on the step that comes right after it, you'll cancel out the two middle ones. But to keep it consistent where you don't have to worry about it, you can do the O and the I if you need to. But if you're quick enough to realize this is a conjugate, it's not necessary to do these because you're going to eliminate them anyways. Same thing with this one, we got a conjugate. So 8p times 8p is 64p squared. So 8 times 8 is 64. P to the first plus 1 is p squared. And then it's FOIL. You don't have to do the O or the I since it's a conjugate. So negative 2 times 2 is minus 4. 64p to the fourth minus 4. If you did the O and the I, you'd have something that looks like this: 64p to the fourth plus 16p minus 16p minus 4. And then you'll notice at this step, plus 16 and minus 16p will cancel each other out. So you get back to what we got. 34, you're finding the slope. Last from the past right here. Remember, m equals, not going to give you this formula. You need to know this. Y sub 2 minus Y sub 1 over X sub 2 minus X sub 1. Remember, you don't need to remember that exactly. Just remember it's the change of the Y over the change of the X. Most of y'all remember that. Anytime you're talking about change, how things change, remember it's minus. So don't make that mistake. Easiest way to do it, label it XY, and call one of them 0.1 and the other one 0.2, and then just plug it in. Y sub 2's value, as we have it written up here, is -1, minus Y sub 1's value is 7, over X sub 2's value is 10, minus X sub 1's value is 1. So -1 minus 7 is -8, and 10 minus 1 is 9. So M is -8 over 9. That's your slope, -8 over 9. 36, I'm sorry, says find the slope and y-intercept. This is not in slope-intercept form, so you can't see it as easy. It's in standard form, just like the speed check we did a little while ago. Move 6x over to the other side by subtracting it. If you subtract the left, subtract 6x on the right. It leaves you with 2y equals mx, so -6x plus 4 plus b. Not quite done. Got to get rid of 2 times something by dividing by 2. Divide the left. Make sure you do everything on the right by 2. Y equals -6 divided by 2 is -3, and 4 divided by 2 is plus 2. Now it says mx plus b, and since it says mx plus b, our m value is -3 and our b value is +2. So it says find the slope. Remember, slope is your m, so your slope is -3, and your b is your y-intercept. That is +2. Remember, m is slope, b is y-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. Number 37 says write this one in slope-intercept form. Great. So it's called slope-intercept form, so you need 2 things. First thing is the slope, second thing is an intercept. The easiest thing to get in this case is the intercept, though, because you can see that it crosses through at -1. So your b value is -1. The other thing we need to find is the slope. We need an m value. The way you find an m value is you count how many times you got to go up or down over how many times you got to go left or right. So from the 2 points that they give you, because you know what they are, that one's -3, you got to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. You went up 4. So +4, and you go over 1, 2. So to the right 2. This simplifies m equals 4 over 2. M's going to simplify to 2. So you have b's value at -1 and m's value at 2. All you have to do at this point is write your equation. Y equals something x plus b. Mx plus b. M's value is 2. We just found it. And b's value is -1. So plus b is -1. Y equals 2x minus 1. Number 38 says write in standard form using integers. Integers, everybody. No fractions, no decimals. We got a fraction, 5 over 8. Remember, another way to read 5 over 8 is 5 divided by 8. In order to cancel out divide by 8, multiply by 8. So if you multiply this term by 8, it'll cancel it out. But if you multiply that term by 8, you got to multiply everything else by 8. So you got to multiply y by 8 and 1 by 8. So that gives us 8 times y is 8y equals, those canceled out, so all we have left is 5 times x, and 1 times 8 is plus 8. We're not quite in standard form. Remember, standard form needs to be ax plus by equals c. We got too many things over there. We got to move this x to the other side to make it say ax. So that says plus or positive 5x. Undo that by subtracting it. If you subtract it on the right, subtract 5x on the left. You can't take 5x away from 8y and get 3xy because they're not the same terms. They're not like terms. So all you can do is write the x term first, -5x. So ax positive 8y plus by equals, these cancel, c. Ax plus by equals c using only integers. And then you got to do two systems. It doesn't tell you how to do the first one. It tells you the second one, use elimination. You can use either one you want. Um, I I think these both lend themselves best to using elimination for both of them. Remember, when you're doing elimination, you want opposite coefficients of either the x's or the y's. This is 1 as a coefficient. We can multiply 1 by -3, and it'll become the opposite of the 3x that's below it. So if we take this equation here and multiply it by -3, -3 times 1 gives us -3x. You got to do it to everything, though. -3 times 5y is -15y. And -3 times 2 is -6. So now we have these two equations we're dealing with, but notice we have opposite terms, 3x and -6x. Those cancel out and leave us with no x's. So 3y minus 15y is -12y, and 6 minus 6 is 0. So in order to get y by itself, divide by -12. We're dividing 0 by something. It doesn't matter what we're dividing it by. So y's value comes out to be 0. Once you have y's value, plug it back into one of the other equations. It doesn't matter which one. Pick the easiest one. The top one says x plus 5y. We got a new value for y, so we'll plug in 0 equals 2. So x plus 0 equals 2, or x's value equals 2. So we have an x and a y value now. Remember, you write them as x comma y as an ordered pair. So 2 comma 0 is the solution to that system. That means when you graph both of those equations, if you feel better about that, graph them, they're going to intersect at the point 2, 0. And then finally, the last one says solve using the elimination. Elimination is definitely the easiest ones for this one because you have 6x and 6x. You just got to make one of them negative. So if we take this first equation and we multiply it by -1, -1 times 6x gives us -6x. -1 times 3y is -3y. And -1 times -12, negative times a negative is a +12. Now we have those two equations. 6x minus 6x is 0x. They cancel each other out. 2y minus 3y is -1y. And -4 plus 12 is +8. So you have -1 times y. Undo that by dividing by -1. Do it here as well. Y's value is -8. So you have y's value. You need to find x's value by plugging it in. 6x plus 3 times we got a new value for y. It's -8 equals -12. I just plugged it into the top equation. So 6x 3 times -8 is -24. Get rid of -24 by adding it. Do the same thing to this side. 6x equals 12, and get rid of 6 times something by dividing it. X is 2. So you have an x and a y value. Remember, x comma y is how you want to write it. So 2 comma -8 is your solution. That means when you graph both of those equations, the place that they intersect, the only point that is a solution is going to be at 2, -8.